Good evening. You are tuning in to AWANI Tonight with me, Cynthia Ng. Sabah and Sarawak no longer states as MA 63 constitutional amendments passed, and court orders Muda to be registered. What's next for this young political party? That's coming up. The ruling coalition secured a crucial two-thirds support to amend clauses of the federal constitution to reflect the Malaysia Agreement 1963 or MA 63. This paves the way to restoring the status for Sarawak and Sabah as equal partners to Peninsular Malaysia. Speaker Tan Sri Azizan Harud announced the amendment bill was given passage through block voting, with 199 members of parliament backing the bill without opposition. However, 21 other members were not present during the vote. Are there legal and constitutional challenges to fulfilling and honouring the spirit of MA 63? Tonight on Consider This, we speak to Sarawak Legal Counsel, Datuk Sri J.C. Fong, who served as Sarawak Attorney General for 15 years. Amendments to the Prevention and Control of Infectious Diseases Act 1988 or Act 342 will be tabled in the Dewan Rakyat this coming Thursday. Health Director General Tan Sri Dr. Nori Hisham Abdullah says the law needs to be amended as soon as possible to stay relevant and to allow for continuity in the regulations used under the emergency ordinance. Among others, the amendment will allow for the maximum compounds to be increased from the current 1,000 ringgit to 10,000 ringgit on individuals, while errant companies can be compounded up to a maximum of 1 million ringgit.
In 1988, when this act been drafted, so we did not take into account pandemic, but more towards endemicity, epidemic outbreak. So now it's time for us to review back, and what is more important, the second question, is this supposed to be a deterrence? So if we were to implement the Act 1988, the maximum compound of 1,000 ringgit to a company, multi-billion company, for example, then it's not going to be deterrence, so there's no issue of payment.
After the emergency ordinance was lifted, the highest compound that can be imposed under Act 342 is 1,000 ringgit. Opposition leader Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim, however, has said that he will oppose to the amendments of Act 342. After a long, drawn-out legal process, Malaysian United Democratic Alliance, or Muda, has won their right to be registered as a political party. Following this, the High Court ordered Home Minister Datuk Sri Hamzah Zainuddin to register Muda as a political party within 14 days.
On Twitter, the youth-based party announced that the High Court ruled in its favour and was also awarded legal costs of 10,000 ringgit. Muda had filed a legal challenge against the government's refusal of the group's appeal for the registration as a political party. This morning was a hearing of Muda's lawsuit via 13 of its co-founders against both the Home Minister and the Registrar of Societies.
In the event that the government does not appeal to overturn the High Court's ruling in favour of Muda, Party Secretary General Amira Aisha said that today's victory is merely the beginning of the political party's journey.
So now that we have been registered, we will officially launch every state, introduce the leader of each state in Muda, and also work harder to ensure that all political service, service in politics doesn't end. At the same time, we are going to launch the policies or the dasar-dasar perjuangan that Muda will fight for.
She said among Muda's priorities will include introducing the Political Funding Act, which would allow for transparent lists of funders and allow political parties to be held accountable for any issues pertaining to the party's funding.
When you don't have transparency as to who are the funders of the party or how is the party being funded and all these things, you have to realize that there are certain policies or certain things, for example, that cannot be fought for, that cannot be pushed by the conservative parties because they have funders who say that they cannot do this and that, right? And these things are things that affect the economy of the people, right? For example, when we are talking about issues such as windfall tax, or issues such as the market issue, like the rise of the market price for the people. All these are issues that are impacting the people. Issues, for example, giving free tablets and free laptops to students, right? This is an educational issue. But all these things, it's tough for the current political party to actually push for proper policy because they have funders who, tied them to a certain thing that they cannot do or they cannot say.
The Health Ministry has given conditional registration approval for the use of Ronapreve solution for injection or infusion to treat COVID-19. Health Director General Tan Sri Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah, however, said the product is not intended to be used as a substitute for COVID-19 vaccination.
It can be used for the treatment and prevention of COVID-19 in adults and adolescents 12 years and older, weighing at least 40 kgs. Hisham, however, said the conditional registration requires monitoring and evaluation of the quality, safety and efficacy of the product based on latest data from time to time. Meanwhile, the National Pharmaceutical Regulatory Agency has also approved an application for a clinical trial import license from Merck Sharp & Dohme and Patheon Pharmaceuticals Inc. for the COVID-19 prevention drug Molnupiravir. The 9-month-long trials will involve 3 phases and will be carried out in 2 research institutes in Malaysia, involving 20 people aged 18 years and older.
Immediate and firm action will be taken against schools that tries to hide any incidents of bullying in their establishment. Senior Education Minister Datuk Dr. Radzi Jidin said this while introducing a new 4-tiered framework to curb bullying in schools.
The new framework involved strengthening existing approach focusing on awareness, reporting, punishment and monitoring.
Dalam konteks pelaporan, KPM telah menyediakan saluran pelaporan bagi membolehkan pihak sekolah melaporkan kes buli kepada kementerian. KPM juga telah menyediakan garis panduan mencegah dan menangani perbuatan buli dalam kalangan murid di sekolah.
He added that the ministry is also reviewing existing penalties which may impose harsher punishments for bullies. Separately, Majlis Amanah Rakyat said 10 Mara Junior Science College students who had allegedly bullied a student will be expelled. Mara Director General Dato' Azhar Abdul Manaf said the college disciplinary committee had made the decision to expel the students from Sultan Azlan Shah MRSM in Kuala Kangsar.
Malaysia will not remove the mandatory face mask requirements in public places anytime soon. Deputy Health Minister Dato' Aaron Agodagang said that the practice will be continued even as the country moves to the endemic stage.
He said that based on a recent study conducted by the ministry on observation of SOPs, 95 of the respondents agreed the mask mandate and social distancing measures should be maintained. He was replying to a question from Lahad Datu MP Datuk Mohammadin Ketapi on whether the COVID-19 SOPs will be eased, considering several European countries no longer imposing mandatory face mask rules.
We will go for a quick break. Stay with us. welcome back. Starting December 20th, vaccinated Malaysian and Singaporean citizens can enter either countries through the land vaccinated travel lane without quarantine. Currently, only citizens, permanent residents and long-term pass holders are allowed to enter both countries via the VTL.
Currently, only citizens, permanent residents and long-term pass holders of either countries they are entering can travel via land VTL. The latest expansion would allow travel for non-citizens, permanent residents or long-term pass holders of either countries. Meanwhile, there will be no change to the current test protocols in Singapore and Malaysia. All travelers have to take COVID-19 antigen rapid tests daily until the 7th day after arrival. The tests on days 3 and 7 have to be done at a testing center.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken assured Washington's commitment to strengthening economic ties with Southeast Asian countries and bolstering security in the Indo-Pacific region. Speaking in Indonesia, the top diplomat said that everyone had a stake in ensuring a status quo in the region that was without coercion and intimidation in what is seen as a reference towards China.
In a speech in Jakarta, Blinken called on partners in the region to defend the rules-based order, which he said is not to keep any country down.
It's not about a contest between a U.S.-centric region or a China-centric region. The Indo-Pacific is its own region. Rather, it's about upholding the rights and agreements that are responsible for the most peaceful and prosperous period this region and the world has ever experienced. That's why there's so much concern from Northeast Asia to Southeast Asia, and from the Mekong River to the Pacific Islands, about Beijing's aggressive actions, claiming open seas as their own, distorting open markets through subsidies to its state-run companies, denying the exports or revoking deals for countries whose policies it does not agree with, engaging in illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing activities. Countries across the region want this behavior to change. We do too.
Blinken also criticized China's aggression in the South China Sea, noting it threatened more than $3 trillion in annual trade and is a cause of growing concern. Blinken is scheduled to visit Malaysia next and later Thailand during his 4-day Southeast Asia trip.
Moderna will produce millions of mRNA vaccines in Australia annually after it agreed to set up one of its largest manufacturing facilities there. Prime Minister Scott Morrison said that the plant in Melbourne will produce up to 100 million vaccine doses every year when it operates in 2024.
The new manufacturing facility will also produce respiratory vaccines for potential future pandemics and seasonal flus. Existing Moderna mRNA production plants are in the US and Europe. Meanwhile, Morrison added that Australia's high vaccination rate meant it could continue to move forward amid the emergence of Omicron variant, and that the country is prepared to open up and live with the virus. Nearly 90% of its population above 16 have been inoculated with 2 doses, with a shorter wait time for a booster shot in light of Omicron.
Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte has withdrawn his candidacy for a Senate seat. The move comes hours after his longtime aide, Senator Bongo, dropped out of the presidential race. It was not immediately clear why Duterte was dropping out of the senatorial race, but he had said in October that he was retiring from politics. The 76-year-old is constitutionally barred from seeking a second term as president. His current term will end in June 2022. Duterte's daughter, Sarah, is running for vice president, while his son Sebastian is contesting the mayoral race in the family's southern stronghold of Davao City. And that is all we have for you on AWANI Tonight. Get the latest news updates on COVID-19 and COVID-19 vaccines from astroawani.com and Astro Awani app. I'm Cynthia Ng. Thank you for watching.